Coming up on today's show, we are going to dive into the Walter Nolen rumors. You guys know Walter Nolen, number 3 player in the country, 5-star defensive tackle out of Memphis, Tennessee. There's a lot of chatter out there that he could be leaning towards a commitment to Michigan. So we'll talk about that story. Then we'll dive into the Ohio State. You got a kind of a thirsty Ohio State former Buckeye player out there, out there begging for their sanctions from the 2010 season and all the losses, all the wins that were taken off the record to be reversed with NIL being changed. We'll dive into that story. It's actually despicable behavior by this former player. And then a little more Ohio State. The Buckeyes are going to be full capacity this fall, it seems. So now we're going to wait on the rest of the Big Ten to follow Michigan's lead, surprisingly Michigan's lead, who was the first Big Ten school to announce that they will be full capacity this fall. We've got those stories and so much more on the Michigan Football Report from Chat Sports coming up right now. I am your host, James Yoder from the Michigan Football Report, and this is the story that I feel is being underreported, and there's a lot of whispers out there, and most of them are pretty positive for Michigan, and it's about Walter Nolen. So there was some chatter a couple weeks ago that, hey, he might announce on 4th of July out of nowhere and drop that Michigan as his commitment. His dad seems like Michigan. His mom's from the greater Detroit area. His grandparents live there. He just visited. But I'm giving this one 3 Harbaugh heads. If you've seen the show in the past with our Harbaugh head rumor meter, scale of 0 to 4, 3 Harbaugh heads means it is pretty likely. Now, I'm not saying it's pretty likely necessarily that they are going to land him all in, but I think it is pretty likely as of right now, as we stand here in the middle of July, that Michigan is firmly at the top of Walter Nolen's list, and he has cemented them as his number 1 school that he is potentially going to give his commitment to. Now, it doesn't seem like he's going to make another trip up to Ann Arbor this summer. A lot of schools, he made 5 visits to different schools, the 5 finalists actually, as it turns out, in the month of June. And everybody's trying to get him back up for an official visit to their school in the month of July. Michigan's got the barbecue at the Big House coming up in a couple weeks, and they'd love to have him there with some other top-rated prospects, including a 5-star out of the state of Washington. Could they get Walter Nolen to come up there on his own dime? Could they get a commitment? I doubt it. Why do I doubt it? Well, one, he just named his top 5 last week, and we'll kind of show you those schools where Michigan ranked, who they're competing at for his services here in a moment. Toss up on screen there. So I put out this edit. The kids are doing their edits these days. You've, of course, got Michigan, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, and Florida. So those are all the schools that he visited in June. Those end up being his top 5. The one school notably different is LSU. A lot of people thought they could be leading or one of his top 2. They are not in his top 5 that he released last week. But the rumors are real, folks. I think that he certainly has Michigan number 1 right now. He did just make a announcement or just to schedule his official visit to Alabama. He's going to be in Tuscaloosa in early November for the game against LSU. So that, to me, signals that he's unlikely to make a commitment before then. But crazy things have happened in the world. Remember, back a few weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago, he put out a tweet that right off his Florida visit said he was going to shut down his recruitment and announce soon. Then his dad comes out and says, no, we're just thinking about shutting down his recruitment, stop talking to media. We're not going to announce anything. And a lot of people thought, oh, he's got to be leaning to Florida. Just came off that visit. But still made that visit to Michigan the week after. And he's come out of that one with a top 5 now. An official visit scheduled for Alabama against their game against LSU in November 6th in Tuscaloosa. And if you remember, you saw the show a week or 2 back, his dad said no matter what, no matter if he committed, whether to Michigan or someone else, him, Walter, his father, his mother, family, they are going to be in Ann Arbor for the Ohio State game Thanksgiving weekend no matter what. So maybe he'll string it out. Maybe he won't announce until November, commit anywhere until November, December, right before signing day. We'll see what happens. But as of right now, I truly believe that Michigan leads for him. And if things go well, they continue to communicate with him. They show him opportunities for name, image, and likeness as much as they can. And they don't mess it up in the field. If they come out looking like a junior varsity team like they did in more than half their games last year, he's not going to go to Michigan, right? He's going to go to Alabama where you're going to be in contention for an SEC title, a national championship, college football playoff. And if you don't get it out of Michigan, you're not even sure who your coach is going to be next year. So I doubt Michigan gets him. But if they come out strong, looking strong at least on defense, I think that they have a very good chance. Here's the question for you guys. Will Michigan land Walter Nolen, the number 3 player in the country? Frankly, if you think about defensive tackles who've been ranked in the top 5 or so in the 24/7 composite over the last decade, if you're in that position and you're in the top 5, you've got about a 50% chance, looking back and historically, of being a first-round draft pick. And so that's a pretty good barometer to expect out of him. But Rashawn Gary was the number 1 overall player in his class, same position, D tackle. Didn't have that great a career at Michigan all in, but was still the number 13 pick in the draft by the Green Bay Packers. So I'd certainly take his career if I had to choose having it or not, if that's what Walter Nolen produces. Nevertheless, type blue for yes, right? Is that we have blue for yes and sad for no. So blue if they can land him, sad because we'll all be sad if he goes somewhere else for no. The year is 2021. The channel is the Michigan Football Report, and you are going to help us get this very attainable goal to help us drive the bus to beat Steve Deese and Michigan Podcasts and subscribers before the season starts. Just give me 21 subscribers, right? Thousands, if not tens of thousands of you will watch this video here on YouTube. So just need 21 of you guys, whether you like Michigan or not. Just hit the subscribe button. If you don't even like our videos, if you want to say, I'll subscribe, but Yoder, you suck, that's fine too. Just need the sub button. Just need the subs. Get 21 for the year 2021. It's going to make a big difference when the season comes around. Trust me, you will not regret it. YouTube.com/Michigan TV. Story we're talking about now here on the Michigan Football Report is Ohio State football. I'm going to have a couple back-to-back stories for you on the Buckeyes. First being the 2020 vacated season, right? Now, I remember the scenario that happened after the season was winding up, December. So there was all this scandal about Terrell Pryor and Davier Posey, whatever his name was, and a few other guys. Was it Davier Posey and a couple other guys selling tattoos in exchange for whatever, right? Was it for money? Or, I'm sorry, was exchanging swag in exchange for tattoos, and people have insinuated money, et cetera, But Terrell Pryor now is coming out and saying, because of name, image, and likeness, that wouldn't be illegal anymore, that the NCAA should reverse those sanctions. And I don't know. Ohio State sanctions reverse, is that what Terrell Pryor wants? Is it going to happen? I'm calling this one fake news because I don't think there's any chance that the Big Ten or the NCAA is going to go back in time 11 years and say, hey, you guys didn't play by the rules back then, but because it's legal now, that's all good. We're just going to change it, give you those wins back, give you the records, the Big Ten title, whatever it was that you took away. So let's take a look at Terrell Pryor Sr. No, that's not his father. That is Terrell Pryor himself. He must have named his son Terrell Pryor. Totally egotistical move. Guy might be a maniac. You never know who the hell would name their son after him. Whatever, right? He basically is asking for the NCAA, and he tagged about 6 or 7 other Twitter accounts, to give Jim Tressel back his records, give Ohio State back their vacated 2010 season, in which, ironically, these players were suspended for the first 5 games of 2011, if you remember, but they were all still allowed to play in the Sugar Bowl against Arkansas that year, which I think people thought was a little fishy. But here's the image he put out. It's a picture of the players back in 2010 when they were sitting there talking, addressing their sanctions and everything that happened that ultimately led to Jim Tressel being relieved of his duties as Ohio State's coach. The only down season that they've had as a program came directly after that, the 2011 season where they went 6-7. Michigan got the win, Brady Hoke's first season. And then what happened for them, right? It turned out pretty good. Urban Meyer came in the next year. You had 1 year with Luke Fickell down year. Then you get Urban Meyer. Now, had they been smart back then, they would have self-imposed a sanction in 2011 instead of 2012, which ultimately was handed down to them. They went undefeated in Urban Meyer's first season. You can make an argument they would have won a national title that year. Alabama won the title. They had a loss. Undefeated Ohio State would have likely been in that BCS championship game against an average-ish Notre Dame team who Alabama wiped off the floor. Michigan lost that year as well, but I think it was like 12-6. No touchdown scored in that one. So I don't think it's anyone's going to happen. We're going to talk about this story coming up here in just a second. But before we do, make sure you guys download the NEWSBREAK app. If you haven't yet, you are getting your news from just unscrupulous sources probably, because NEWSBREAK breaks down the news for your zip code from all the newspapers, blogs, everything in between. They focus on local news and weather, politics, sports content. You've got our stuff on there. You've got the blog boys. If you're in Detroit, you'll get like the Free Press, MGO, Blob, those guys. What restaurants are hot in town. If you want to launch an app and see your city and what's going on in it without having to search all over the internet, go on Twitter, go on Facebook, etc., etc., NEWSBREAK is the app for you. Use our URL and, of course, follow the Michigan Football Report once you download it. Hit that follow button. It's chatsports.com/MichiganNB. It's important that you use that link right there. Type it into your browser on your iPhone or Android, and it'll drop you right in the store. Why is that important? Well, this is a trackable link, and they will know you came from this show. They'll probably continue to sponsor our show so we can keep bringing you this awesome programming, mostly ad-free. You don't have to pay for it at least. So chatsports.com/MichiganNB. Type in your browser. I'll also put it in the description. I'll put it down in the comments. Type it in. Don't go looking for it in the App Store. We want to make sure you guys give us some love, give us some credit. chatsports.com/MichiganNB. All right, Buckeyes fans. The rules are the rules, okay? You look back to the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, Michigan went on a 30-year tear where they got the best of Ohio State, pulled some monumental upsets starting in 1969 with being number 1 Ohio State, going all the way into the mid-90s, 95, 96, being an undefeated number 2 ranked Ohio State. The top 4 matchup in 97 when Michigan was number 1. And then after John Cooper gets fired, Jim Tressel comes in, and all of a sudden the tables turn. Oh, it's just so convenient that one coach comes in and it's continued. And then 10 years after that happens, the sanctions come in, you lose an entire season, you lose a Big Ten championship. Terrell Pryor gets suspended for 5 games of his senior year in 2011, ends up going into the NFL draft. And actually, frankly, in one of the crazier moves of all time, the NFL suspended Terrell Pryor. If you guys remember that, he got college sanctions in 2010. He had to be suspended for 5 games of 2011, decided to go pro, and the NFL suspended him. That's actually the wildest part about the story. So take a look at the photo Terrell Pryor shared on Twitter about the story, asking for Ohio State's record and the Big Ten championship and Jim Tressel's good name, in his opinion, to be overturned by the NCAA. But look, wasn't about Tattoo-gate. The Buckeyes did much worse than Tattoo-gate. I'm convinced of it, right? There's no way you can flip the rivalry on ahead that quickly. 1 year, new coach, and you win. If the players weren't getting paid, okay, to come as recruits, there was stuff like this where you knew there were certain businesses around town where we can go and say, yo, I want to get free this, free that. I'll sign an autograph for you. I'll give you my game-worn cleats, my game-worn jerseys, so you can sell it on eBay or have it for your own. And you're going to give me $500. We all remember Maurice Collette driving around in every different Cadillac in the city of Columbus in 02, 03. It's just a litany of sanctions. And look, I'm not going to be a cheater guy. I don't actually think a lot of these schools are offering recruits, or were offering recruits thousands of dollars or anything as recruits. But I did think there was a culture of, once you get here, we'll take care of you, that maybe Michigan didn't have as much as some of the schools that have elevated themselves to the top of college football. So I've narrowed it down. The 4 biggest cheaters guaranteed in college football. You guys are going to decide who cheats the most out of these 4. Cheating Ohio State, go ahead and type O down in the comments. If it's Clemson, I mean, how does a mid-tier school go from having a verb, Clemsoning, describe their failure in big games, to all of a sudden the top 2 or 3 program in the country in under a decade? Alabama, the cream of the crop, but they weren't so hot in the 90s and early 2000s under Alabama. Saban comes in, you guys know what's up. And then LSU, if they're not cheating, I don't know. There's something else going on there, because they have been 2 national titles in the past 20 years, and I think 4 national title games they've been in over the past 2003, 2007. So 3 national titles actually, 2019, and then they were in the title game in 2011. That is pretty damn impressive. More than Ohio State, more titles than Ohio State over that same 20-year period. Type L if it is the LSU Tigers. One more story, and there's not a ton going on with Michigan today, so I wanted to get you as much news as we can. Ohio Stadium is going to be full capacity, although not official. Their athletic director, Gene Smith, has said on a number of different media appearances he's done in the past week, and just said it again on a radio appearance yesterday, that Ohio Stadium will be full capacity this fall. No Big Ten stadiums had full capacity had any capacity this past fall, except for friends and family members of the players. Michigan's the only school that I know of that has announced that they are full capacity and are now selling tickets to games this season. So Ohio State maybe it's just semantics. Maybe they're waiting on some other announcements. But Michigan's season, season tickets and season ticket packages are now out for every seat in the house. Ohio State and the Big Ten is not going to do this unless they've got full buy-in from everyone. So I think it's only a matter of time. All teams in the Big Ten will, as they should be back to full capacity this fall. That includes Michigan. That'll likely include, obviously, Penn State, Michigan State. But more importantly for you, a Michigan fan, is the Ohio State Buckeyes. Michigan's not going to head down there, obviously. Missed the trip to Columbus last year due to the coronavirus outbreak. But Ohio State will be full capacity when they get their season kicked off. I believe it's the Thursday night of Labor Day weekend. They've got a game against Minnesota, and then 9 days later, they have Oregon coming to Ohio Stadium. So I ask you guys this question. I've been to a good 10, 12 college football stadiums in my life. Other than Michigan Stadium, undisputed the best, the Big House. They call it the Big House for the reason. What's the best college football stadium that you have been to? Don't speculate if you haven't been there. I don't know. It's a good one. I haven't really thought about it too much. I will say I've been to like 3 or 4 Pac-12, all trash. Been to Ohio State. I'm unimpressed a little bit. I'll go ahead and just say Notre Dame. I've been to about 4 or 5 games in Notre Dame. I think there is a level of history, level of excitement, and it's much, in a lot of ways, resembles Michigan. It's the full bowl with now the press boxes on each side of the sideline, other side of the 50. So let me know down in comments what's the best stadium, not called Michigan Stadium, that you have ever been to in college football. Before we do, just got word of the producer from my ear. They said, James, we crunched the numbers, and we're going to give you one more day to get to 7,000. We don't want Preston going to school with holes in his shoes. So 6981 is the amount of followers that we've got as we're publishing this video today. So I just need 19 more of you guys to follow me on Twitter at James Yoder. I get the bonus money coming in, and my kid might be swagged up when you go back to school here in August. So follow me on Twitter. If you want to help the cause, create a Twitter account. Just follow me, and you're not going to regret it. Best Michigan football coverage on Twitter, and those are the facts. We'll be back with more Michigan football news and rumors in the coming days. Until then, go Blue.